tiki room, in the tiki 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 room.
Whoa, what a catchy tune! Take it home, baby!
Oh boy, the magic of Disney animation.
Okay, the director's ready, talent's ready. Cue the opening.
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your Walt Disney World information station. I am your host, Lou Mangello, and this is show number 398 for the week of March 8th, 2015. I'm here to help you have the best possible Disney vacation experience and bring you a little bit of Disney magic wherever you are with this podcast, videos, blog, live broadcasts, special events, books, audio tours, and more. Look, whether you are going to the parks for the first time or you love the details, secrets, and stories, there is something here for you. You can subscribe to the podcast over on iTunes and find everything else over at WDWRadio.com. Walt Disney World is first and foremost a storytelling experience, and in many cases, the attraction stories are told and driven by the characters within them. So this week, we're going to look at our top 10 attraction characters in Walt Disney World, why they're on our list, and then I'm going to ask you to share your favorite as well. I'll then have the answer to our last Walt Disney World trivia question of the week and pose a new challenge for your chance to win a Disney Prize package. Then stay tuned to the end of the show. I'll tell you how you can help the show and be part of WDW Radio Nation, as well as have more announcements and your voicemails. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show.
Hey, this is Push the Talking Trash Can from Tomorrowland, and I listen to the WDW Radio Show when I'm not collecting garbage. You should too.
Thanks to you, WDW Radio has been nominated for a 2014 Podcast Award over at podcastawards.com. And this is just a quick request or reminder to please go out to podcastawards.com once per day, every day, and cast your vote for WDW Radio for a podcast award in the travel category. Also, be sure and verify your vote via the email you receive from podcastawards.com. And don't forget, you can vote once per day, every 24 hours, up until March 24th. Every vote counts and is so important, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate the friendship and the support that you've extended to me and the show. Again, podcastawards.com for WDW Radio in the travel category. Really appreciate it if you did. Thanks again. The Walt Disney Company isn't a theme park company. It's not a movie company, a TV production company, and so on, right? They're storytellers. And in the parks, the stories are told utilizing all five senses in 360 degrees. And in the attractions and the shows themselves, those stories are conveyed and driven by the sets, props, music, sometimes the smells, and primarily the characters within them. So this week, we're going to look at some of those storytelling ingredients by sharing our top 10 Walt Disney World attraction characters. And when you hear top 10, you may think that I'm somehow going to incorporate food into the mix or about the chicken exit, because that's normally where you will find my friend, Mr. Tim Foster from CelebrationsPress.com lurking about. Tim, my friend, welcome back.
That's me, the chicken exit.
You are the chicken exit guy. We should do
I'm the chicken
a
exit
top 10
personified.
chicken exits.
Mm-hmm.
Which are like the most well-themed, right? Which have like...
that's a legit one, though. We should do it, because I've studied them all.
I'm sure you have.
Did you know there's a chicken exit to Main Street, USA? There is. And I got wet there.
Nice. And actually, that is a vague reference to one of our very first top 10s, where I think we did a top 10 places you can get wet and you spent like 11 minutes explaining how you got drenched on It's a Small World.
Yeah.
So,
I got wet on the People Mover on the last trip, and not because of rain. So you can throw that one on the list too.
So we specifically
that's not this. Show.
We as we always do not talk about these topics ahead of time.
Nope,
the way
you always tell me how I got it wrong.
Right. So we just one of us will send an email to the other saying, "Hey, we should do a top 10 about this," and let it fly from there. Mm-hmm. And that being the case, when I was trying to think of my top 10 attraction characters, which, as you know, top 10 here normally means top 10, 17 honorable mentions, and each of us sneaking in a couple of twofers here and there. But I thought about when we think about top 10, what are we really talking about, right? Is it what makes a character great, or what makes the character fit on the list? Like, what are the criteria that we considered or you considered when adding characters to the list? Is it likability? Is it cuteness? Is it the merchandise? Is it the fact that they're memorable or funny? Like, do they have to talk? Can they be from a movie or a celebrity, from an existing IP? Like, are they human, or must they be some sort of non-human character? Did you think about, I know the answer to this question, did you think about any of these things beforehand, or as you look at your list, what do you think were the elements that, or the criteria you were looking for that would qualify the characters to be on your list?
Well, first of all, there might be some confusion because I was thinking typographic characters, so we might be going down.
This is the top 10 fonts of Walt. Look, I would love to do.
Hey, I'm a designer,
dude. I'm a font junkie, man. I would love to do a show about the top 10 fonts.
Comic Sans.
Yeah, they're changing the Haunted Mansion to Comic Sans. Everything's going to be in Comic Sans.
Now it's better. Now it's back to the way it should be.
All right, wait. So very quickly, what's the best font? You have to say it by name. But we've talked about attraction signs before. But if you think, like, what do you think is the most beautiful font used on a sign in Walt Disney World?
Oh, in Disney? I thought you meant just in life in general. Because the answer there is Adobe Garamond. There's no question. But I don't know.
We're going to come back to this.
The Walt Disney eye with the little thing on it that everyone steals, but they're not allowed to use. That's the best font ever.
We're going to circle back to this one day. We're going to actually talk about the best fonts in Walt Disney World. That'll be fun. So, guys, so give me the characteristics of the character. Right?
Well, your other 37 questions? No, I didn't think of any of that when I was making my list.
So. Okay. So what was it for you? Like, what is something that makes... And I'll let you sort of lead right into maybe your first one, and you could describe for us the thought process of how this person or man or woman or character, whatever, got on the list.
Well, my first one's easy. The thought process is, which one do I need to steal first to get it off of your list? So that was easy. But as I was thinking this through, I did, as we always do, we think this is going to be a slam dunk. And then the more we think about it, the more difficult it is, or the harder it is. Because I was making sure I didn't get into the level of, human, animal, real, movie, all that kind of stuff. But what I was trying to do, and I got some obvious ones, and I tried to go deeper, go with me with some of the other ones, but separating the character from the animatronic, that was the first thing that struck me, because I kept thinking of, oh, that was cool. Well, wait, but no, I like that because it's just a cool animatronic.
Right.
As opposed to thinking of, all right, what's their role in the story of the attraction, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what led me to where I arrived at.
So before you get it, I think it's interesting that you say that, because I also tried to make that distinction as well. And let me go on record. Here's my one of many disclaimers. I'm going to throw out way more than 10 on this list, because I had a tough time, as I always do, limiting it, because there were so many characters. I'm like, oh, but God, I love that character because of the song. I love that character because of a memory as a child. So I'm going to not so subtly sneak in a lot. For example, the way I was...
I didn't even start yet. Come on.
I was able to pull The Wicked Witch from Great Movie Ride off the list because while I love the character from the movie, I love the character in the park because of the quality of the audio animatronic. Right? You see what I did there?
Yeah. That was my first one.
I know what your first one is, and I'm going to totally give it to you.
Okay. Well, here. All right. My first one. I'm pulling out all my Mangello tricks I've learned over the years. First of all, it's a twofer, and then so I'm cheating, and I'm also stealing it because I know you're going to do it. But it is a gift to you because without delving into your list or what goes on inside that little mind of yours, I think I'm throwing you a big softball here with this one. So I'm going to start. 2 tiny wings, eyes big and yellow, horns of a steer but a lovable fellow. From head to tail, he's royal purple pigment, and there, voila, you've got Mushu. No, Figment, of course. He was, and this was actually when we had the idea that he's the first one that popped in my head, and I mean, what can you say about him? I think a character that was created just for the attraction and the park, as opposed to a character from, film that got repurposed. Doesn't sound like the right word. Right. Got a star of their own attraction, we'll say. And of course, everyone knows and loves Figment. He's become the virtual mascot of Epcot, and when he went away so many years ago and we all shed a tear, the outcry was far and wide, and he thankfully came back. Now but undoubtedly he is the star of the show and the star of Epcot, my favorite character, but I'm going to use him to get to my real first one.
Oh.
See what I'm doing here? No, but
so you're stealing. What you're doing is just...
No, I'm not stealing because I'm not going to go where you think I'm going. Dr. Nigel Channing.
What?
Is my first official one on the list. Yeah, what? You saying what? Now, this is where I'm digging a little deeper here. Now, Dr. Nigel Channing, played by the incomparable Eric Idle from Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. But I think in the latest iteration of Imagination, and even the second one, we'll give him that one. But definitely in this one, he's the perfect foil for Figment. And I think the two of them, their interaction throughout the whole attraction is fantastic. And Eric Idle is just wonderful in his role in bringing that character to life. And it is a character. And this is where I had got into the idea of what defines it in my mind is you are in the Imagination Institute. Going back, you mentioned sight, smell, sound, taste, touch, all that. And you're there for a tour, and he is your host. So he as the character, Dr. Channing, is integral to the storyline of that entire attraction. And Figment, comes in and does his mischief and all that, gets involved. But it's he that holds the attraction together and gives you the narrative and puts you in the story. And Eric Idle does a wonderful job at it because he's just fantastic as he is. And I will say, going back to Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, he has what is still my favorite safety spiel of all time. Do not put on your safety goggles until you are safely seated safely inside the theater safely. That's a classic. See what I did there? And I know I gave you a big...
You did.
I tossed up a softball, so go ahead, hit it out of the park.
And I appreciate you doing that because Dreamfinder was the first one on my list.
There you go.
Oh, hello there. So glad you could come along. I am the Dream Finder.
Without question, I put actually Dreamfinder. I knew you were going to take Figment, but I still would have put Dreamfinder
and
first.
I knew you were taking Dreamfinder.
And I think it's a clear and it's a very nice compliment. And I think when that outcry happened as Journey to Imagination went through its initial incarnation, I think part of that was because not just of the loss of Figment, but because of the dynamic that changed in terms of Dreamfinder, because I think they are such complementary characters, right? Dreamfinder is the fatherly figure to this little dragon who's the little boy with this childlike, wide-eyed innocence and whimsy. And I love the backstory about how he, originally was supposed to be Professor Marvel for Discovery Bay over at Disneyland. I love the entire genesis of how it eventually came to be. And I think there was something very endearing about that character. I mean, even the walk-around Dreamfinder was as attractive, if you understand what I mean, as the puppet that he was holding, right? People weren't just going there to talk to Figment. They were going to talk to the Dreamfinder, right? They wanted a picture with the Dreamfinder. And now, 30 some odd years later, the Dreamfinder is still an icon among Disney fans. I mean, look, Disney and Marvel actually just released a new Figment comic book where Dreamfinder is front and center, and they give Dreamfinder an entirely new, very deliberate, very intricate backstory. So this character that they didn't try to sort of kill him off, but they sort of pushed to the side. They saw clearly that there was a love and a sense of nostalgia for him, and to dive deeper into a story. And I am, for one, and I know I'm not alone, is very glad that Dreamfinder is back in sort of maybe not in the attraction itself, but he is still part of the Disney lore. And, I like some of the subtle references that we see. Look, you go to any Run Disney event, you go to any D23 Expo or Destination D event, chances are somebody's going to be dressed up like the Dreamfinder. And I think that says a lot about that character. I mean, we've talked about Journey into Imagination before and can certainly go on at length. But far and away, Dreamfinder, I almost snuck in I'm going to sneak in my second one. No, I won't.
No, go ahead. Well, and parenthetically, I know you're dressed up in your Dreamfinder costume right now. And I'm not saying this because I can see you, because I can't. I just got a feeling. So are you sneaking in another one?
I won't. I mean...
No, you could go ahead.
No, because
like I said, unlike you, I only have 5. So
I have no less than 14 on my list.
All right. Well, no, okay. I better get mine out there.
Well, no, but you know what? Forget it.
And it is my turn.
It is your turn, but I'm gonna do. This is gonna happen a lot.
All right, go ahead.
I actually put Dreamfinder over what I think is one of my favorite characters in the park, which is Madame Leota.
Oh,
specifically,
dog.
Little Leota. Was she on your list?
No,
not anymore.
No, but I'll explain why shortly.
I mean, I've talked about Little Leota, and I struggled because I love the character so much. The Little Leota, maybe it's the figure itself that I like, but I love Madame Leota, and I actually put Dreamfinder ahead of her.
Interesting.
So see, that was a twofer right there.
Okay, so this is going backwards from the way I anticipated this going, because my next one. So let's journey over to Liberty Square and to the Haunted Mansion, and because I was going to serve you up another softball, which you stole. As far as characters go, I mean, we could pick. There's so many at the Haunted Mansion we could choose from. And I had a feeling you were going to mention Madame Leota, so I was thinking, well, who else can I bring up? And I'm going with the bride as the character of many. And at the end, I'll tell you, I actually thought you were going to pick someone else from the Haunted Mansion. Is there anyone else on the list? Your list from the Haunted Mansion, by the way?
He was going to be in passing, but yes.
He. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, back to...
He or they, whatever.
They. All right. Back to the bride. I think we've talked about this many times of refurbs and enhancements to Walt Disney World attractions, and the good and the bad and the lost and the fondly remembered. But we always agree that the Haunted Mansion big refurbishment several years ago is one of the very best that they've ever done. And one of the big components of that was the enhancement of the bride character to Constance Hatchaway, as she is known now, taking the place of the weirdly unsettling animatronic that used to be there before. But the thing with the Haunted Mansion, too, that's so wonderful, and we've talked a lot about this, is the fact that the backstories that go with it are they're unofficial. Some people think this, some people think that, and that's one of the great things about the Haunted Mansion is there are so many backstories, whether they're quote unofficial or fan made or whatnot. And The Bride was always a great source of those. What is she doing up there? Was she killed? Did she kill herself? What's the story? Even manifesting itself in the bride ring, which the fan made up one that used to be at the exit, which was just the old pole that got taken away, but got such traction as part of the backstory that they went ahead and put a real bride's ring in during the refurbishment. But the character herself, again, the backstory, it's not really evident as you're going through the ride, but there's a lot more to it now than what used to be before. As you go through, you see the 5 portraits of her husbands that met their untimely ends, and what happened, what goes on, and you notice she gets a new strand of pearls for each passing. And even then, what's the real story behind her? Is the portrait in the stretching room of George with the axe in his head, the last husband? At the Haunted Mansion's 40th anniversary in Disneyland, they depicted her with what looked to be a slit throat, so that the clue as to how she met her end. She even appears in Epic Mickey, on the Wii game, which I will full-heartedly admit defeat on. I can't get through that game, but connecting the dots between old and new Disney when Horsecollar explains that Constance Hatchaway was once a lady of Lonesome Manor and several of her husbands expired. And you see that story sort of played out in front of you, but still with an air of mystery and not quite sure what happened. But the fact is that they've totally enhanced her depiction as a full-fledged character with a story, as opposed to an animatronic just waving her hands around. So that was who I picked out of the Haunted Mansion, and I thought you were going to go somewhere else with maybe 3 guys, perhaps.
So just quickly touching on, and look, I think it's very telling, right, that we both sort of, we can pick out a number of characters: Little Yoda, Madame Leota, the Bride, the hitchhiking ghost, the mellow men, the caretaker. And the fact is, this is one of the attractions that has pretty much, for the most part, remained relatively unchanged, save for a few show scenes here and there. And look at the depth of story that either was created beforehand or has been created as a result over the past 40 plus years of the attraction. I think that's part of what the beauty and the attractiveness of the attraction is, that we as guests start making up our own stories. Cast members made up their own stories. They become legend. They eventually become lore. And we love the fact that there is more than just, oh, look, there's a bride up there. She must have killed her husband. We want to sort of dig a little bit deeper into the backstories of these characters. And there is no book to look through. There is no guide at the beginning or the end of the attraction. But I love the fact that so many people are curious about it. And I think that's what makes Haunted Mansion, the true quintessential classic attraction, and why we're able to sort of latch on to so many different characters like this. Why Memento Mori comes to be because of the story.
Yeah, and like the bride's ring I'm mentioning right there, like people fabricated a whole backstory out of a little remnant of pipe, which was amazing. Like she flung it out the window in despair, blah, blah, blah. And it's amazing. That attraction, more than any other, generates its own stories. I guess because it's so vague in its story purposely, I guess,
right.
Lets you feel. Well, that's the great part, because going back to our first one, use your imagination. You fill in the blanks, and that's one of the many great things about Disney is your opportunity to immerse yourself in the story, fill in your own details, become a part of the story. There you go. So.
Right, and that's why now with the relatively recently refurbished Haunted Mansion, we see so many of those elements from the story that was not very cohesive. You see references to the sea captain and the raven and the one-eyed black cat and all these things that played into the design and the creation of the Haunted Mansion that never really came together when it finally opened. But those stories still continue to live on, both for the Imagineers and the cast members and us as guests. And I love the fact that Disney incorporated that into the mansion where they did refurbishment. So, yeah, I mean, I had Madame Leota and the Hitchhiking Ghost and the Caretaker, on my mental and written down list. And I could have picked any or all those for a look. I mean, the Hitchhiking Ghosts, are... as part, you think about Walt Disney World, those are one of the first characters that comes to mind, I think, for a lot of people.
And let's not kid everyone, because anyone who's listening to the show at all knows far and away it's Little Yoda. But we had to spread the love around a little bit.
So,
and that's sunsettling as I said it. So
yeah, it was just a little bit on the creepy side. Just better you that said it than me.
We left creepy a long time.
Yeah, that's true. As I look through my list, I just sort of was brain dumping it in no particular order, and I don't know why I keep going over to the Carousel of Progress.
No, you better not. You better not.
But then I'm going to go past it. I would love to. And look, when you talk about it, I would love to share it with you.
I'll do it. I might go there next. So.
All right. Well, why don't we go there together? Why don't we go? Why don't we go to Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress together? Because I had two. I actually have two on my list for the carousel. At first, and I know I'm sneaking two in here.
You can't because one's probably mine.
Well, I was going to go with Uncle Orville.
But you're not.
But I'm not.
Because you're going to go somewhere else.
Because I'm going to go with the father.
There you go.
Because I love the father in Carousel of Progress. There's something likable and lovable and reminiscent, I think, of many people's father. We hear the father tell stories now from the 20s and the 40s or the late 1800s, and we kind of laugh, right? Sometimes the same way we would laugh at our dads when they think that they're talking about all this cool latest and greatest and stuff, and you're like, oh, come on, Dad, that was so 2 years ago. Oh, come on, Dad, that was so 80 years ago. But I don't know if it's a combination of his face and look, whether your narrator is Rex Allen or whoever it may be, whoever sort of your quintessential father from the Haunted Mansion was, there's something very endearing and likable about him and comforting. I don't know how else to describe it. You've never seen the show, have you?
Is that the one that goes upside? Yeah. Oh no, it goes around. That's right.
Yeah, I know. You got wet on the Carousel of Progress too.
Embarrassing to say, actually did. Sarsaparilla. Yeah. The Carousel of Progress is right behind along with the Haunted Mansion, is just filled with great characters that, to our point, are there to tell the story. They're not just, the animatronics are great, but it's not about that. It's about the telling the story. And obviously, I went with Uncle Orville when I put him on my list. And it was really just a question of, which character am I going to go with here in Carousel of Progress? And I guess to your point of before, what drove the decision to include this character or that character? Well, first of all, Uncle Orville, for his brief 2 appearances, is obviously very funny in his invention of air cooling and his escapades in the back room, we shall say, in the Christmas scene. But the thing with the Uncle Orville character to me, which is cool, which is kind of getting out of the realm of how integral he is to the story itself, but is the story sort of behind him, and that I always find it fascinating that he is voiced by Mr. Bugs Bunny, Mr. Daffy Duck, Mel Blanc, who is probably the most well-known, at least to us old people, voice character, cartoon actor of all time. And I always found it fascinating that, for extensive as his career was, that his only Disney credit ended up being Gideon the cat hiccuping in Pinocchio, which is amazing because he was such a prolific and talented actor, and that's all he kind of ended up with on his Disney resume until the Carousel of Progress, where he did provide the voice of Uncle Orville. I also find it cool that his son Noel did the voices on the radio that you hear throughout the show too. And I also thought, and I was just looking this up, and I didn't know this, and I thought this was really cool too, was that that Mel Blanc has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and so does Bugs Bunny. And very few people can make that claim, and one of those people is Walt Disney, who's on for himself, and Mickey Mouse is on. So, you know, the actual person and the character, they play both having their separate stars. I just thought that was a really cool, didn't know that. So, but like I said, the story itself, the attraction itself is full of great characters, from the mother to father to Patty to the kid with the werewolf face, you know, scares me all the time. But again, full of character. Which one do you pick? That's why I went with, just because he's funny. So, and I would do an impression of him, but I'm not going to.
So I will share with you.
It's all in this place.
Poor Mel Blanc.
What did I say? Privacy?
I don't know what you said. I don't know. I will.
I didn't want to do it. So.
I will give you. I was going to save this for the Tomorrowland audio guide, but I will give you another bit of what I think is very, very interesting. And I think it's very telling, right? You talked about Mel Blanc sort of being a masterful voiceover artist. I bet you didn't know that in the Carousel of Progress, which has gone through a number of different versions, from the World's Fair version to the Disneyland version to the 1975 version, right? So when Andrew Duggan took over as the dad, and then eventually Gene Shepard, who is the current father, did you know that every character in the Carousel of Progress, their voice has been re-recorded by a different voiceover actor, except for Uncle Orville?
No privacy at all around this place.
Sorry, Orville.
Who at one point was Cousin Orville. Mel Blanc is the only voice that has been consistent throughout the entire show.
To which I go, and actually I get that. I mess that up all the time. I say Cousin Orville all the time.
He was cousin for a little while, and now he's uncle.
And I don't know why. Cousin, probably because of Cousin Eddie. I think is why I say Cousin Orville. That's a whole other story. Segment, bit.
So is it back to me?
Father Orville. Yeah, you. I think, although I think I've done 3 and you've done 12, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Again, the list top 10 should be in air quotes.
I'm pretty sure you don't have these last two, because mine are real. These are really go with me ones here. So I'm confident.
I have a couple of go with me's.
I'm confident.
I definitely have a couple of go with me here's. Okay. And as I look at, I'm trying to sort of save like my next 2 to be the characters that I really like, right? And this is normally where I would start just throwing ones out. I'm
waiting for you to bring up food. This is a record.
I know. I can't believe I haven't either. All right. I'm going to go to the Country Bear Jamboree.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to the Country Bear Jamboree. And this is totally a subjective, personal, thinking back to when I was a kid, going with my dad. And maybe that's who this one really is for. Because I love the character of Henry, but the one that just sort of sticks with me is Big Al. And I think it's a combination of the audio animatronic and his face and his expression and the story about how he sort of looks like Imagineer Albertino. And my dad just loved Big Al. And yes, he has his own stand right across the street, which happens to be next to the Westward Ho wagon where you can get food in Frontierland.
There it is.
There you go.
There it is.
But yeah, I think there's something that there's something, again, sort of just lovable about that character. And again, maybe for me, it's more of a personal thing than anything I can sort of point to. Maybe it's the song that for years I would sing to my kids as I picked them up from school. My rendition of Blood in the Saddle is seconded only to Tex Ritter himself.
Well, let's hear it. Let's go.
Listen, I'm not some trained monkey. I don't just sing on. So.
Come on, I did the worst Uncle Orville ever.
No, I know. Yeah, that was.
Hey.
But, he's out of tune and he's just doing his thing and he's oblivious to everything else that's going on around him. And I think there's just something just fun and warm and lovable about him. And maybe that's sort of what I seem to be gravitating towards in my favorite characters, right? The Dreamfinder is a warm, lovable character. The dad's a lovable character. I think I need psychotherapy. Obviously, I have much deeper issues.
Well, we kind of knew that going in, but it's just clear now.
Someone's definitely going, he has daddy issues that he really needs to. So, but I'll say, I will say Big Al from the Country Bear.
It's connecting with your childhood. Yeah, we're all kids when we go to Disney.
It is. Look, man, I said this since the very beginning. My love of Disney is, believe it or not, Tim Foster, not centered around the food. It's not centered around the attractions. It's not centered around going to the parks. It's grounded in the memories I have of going there with my parents every year as a kid, of my dad carrying me on his shoulders in Tomorrowland. I don't know how he did it, because I never did it for my kids. I just threw them in the stroller. But it's the memories of going back to the hotel at night and going to the top of the world supper club to eat and things like that. So maybe that's why I'm gravitating towards these characters.
I'm going to pull you back a little bit. I mean, for me, it's about the funnel cake. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Man, I shouldn't have said. I'm going to get 20 funnel cakes in the mail. No, in fact, actually, the next one I'm doing, it's kind of along those lines. This isn't probably wouldn't be a character on top of most people's list, but it's one of the earlier ones I remember. But he's not that old and he's still around. And I know you're not going to get this one because you seem to have a little aversion to this attraction. We're going to stay in Tomorrowland and we're going to Stitch's Great Escape. You love it. You know it. You love it. And the guy, the little guy who just has that warm little spot in my heart is Skippy. And again, he's not the biggest headline character out there. He's not one you might think of right away. But I remember from not from 1972 circa days, but we first started going with our daughter and visiting during the 90s and going on the extraterrestrial alien encounter, which I liked. Wife didn't like so much. Daughter, I don't know if she ever went on it actually. So, all right, this is my own personal memory, my own psycho babble issue I have. But Skippy was, part of that attraction. The little lovable alien that got transported by simulated intelligent robotics, Sir, as we know him. The head of excess and the practically painless teleportation technology he was trying to sell us as the audience. But it was just one of those things where it's part of the story, not even the main part of the story, but just a little bit, just a little gag. And it was really cool. The effect was amazing and still is, of him actually being teleported from one chamber to the other and turning into a crispy fritter at the end. And I was happy to see, for whatever our thoughts are with Stitch's Great Escape and that attraction's merits or whatever, I'm glad as one person to know that Skippy is still there, admittedly in an abbreviated appearance. But I will ask you, I'm going to kind of tangent off this because this always, I don't know, maybe bugged me. I don't know if this is the right word. I'm asking you, Lou Mangello, little Lou Mangello. So this is an older person problem I have. So the guy, your head guy host in the second room there, is now Sergeant C4703BK2704 9021 now. Now is that? See, I when I take my daughter and she hears that, she has no idea why the old people are laughing. Shouldn't they update it? Like, if they could say 704-1972, and then it would be a cool little tribute to when the Magic Kingdom opened or something.
Wait a second. Wait. 1972 would be a tribute to when the Magic Kingdom opened?
1971. You know what I'm talking about.
Just want to make sure I got all my dates right.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean. I mean, it's a reference to something I never even saw. This is so old. Nobody knows what. There's a couple 50-somethings laugh in the audience, but no one else knows what's going on. It's like when I'm watching Seinfeld with my daughter and they're talking about the JFK movie, and I ask her, do you know why this is funny? She goes, no. And I have to explain the whole thing to her.
Back and to the left.
Yeah, but she doesn't know what that means.
That is one magic loogie.
She wasn't there. When you have topical humor, you got to be careful because, it's not going to last. I don't even think that was topical when the Stitch opened. Wasn't that show long gone by then?
Well,
anyway? That's my own personal rant. That has nothing to do with the show. So I just wanted to get off my chest.
Look, it's a simple throwaway, right? It's not integral to the storytelling.
But
this is what look, and this is something that happened before. Actually, look, it happened right across the street, where when you try and be current, you instantaneously date an attraction.
Yeah.
It was much more pronounced in the Timekeeper when Boys to Men is performing Motown Philly. You're like, what? Like, and people laugh when I tell them that. They're like, you're kidding. I'm like, no. Like, near the end of the attraction, the Jules Verne and H.G. Wells have to be sort of explained why Motown Philly is playing in the park. I don't think it's that big of a deal here. I think it's a nice little nod.
I always find it, that's the best joke you could come up with.
But I will tell you that as soon as you said Skippy, the first thing that came to mind was, and this is one of the things I remember most, is Tim Curry, Bon Voyage. Like that.
Bon voyage.
The Phil Hartman was there very, very, very briefly, but I loved the Tim Curry voiceover when he was Sir.
And that could have been a character too. It's funny, like in most of these attractions, there's multiple ways you could go, multiple characters you could go.
And I think because I don't think we've done it before. I think a future top 10, and you need to write this down because next time I'm like, what are we going to talk about?
I'm going to write it down.
The top 10 attraction one-liners.
Ooh.
Right?
That's going to be a short show.
But we can listen. A short show. Come on, are you new here? They're never short shows. So yeah, Bon Voyage. Like that's one of the.
Oh, wait, but we have to do them in voice.
Okay.
All right.
I'm in.
Okay. All right.
There's got to be a Samuel L. Jackson. Where is my super suit? Somewhere in Walt Disney World.
Where's my super suit?
What?
Where is my super suit?
That's my
this will
favorite one
be
to do.
episode number 512, aka Total Train.
Oh my! I cannot wait to do another James Mason impression because now I've got to include 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
You can do one now. I'm not. There's room. It's time.
Again, talking about references that most kids won't get. They're like, James who?
Yeah. Well, the difference between referring to a Disney thing that happened 60 years ago and something that was just there, and so what?
All right, so I don't know. I've lost track of how many we have. I'll mention a couple of honorable mentions at the end, but my last one or two.
Wait, that's only 4 for me. I got one more to go.
Okay, good. So I have 2 more.
Got 2 more.
And they're going to be go with me here's. I am going to, in the vein of Tim Foster, unless I decide to change my mind. This is a go with me. I will tell you that when I started doing my virtual audio walking tours of the parks, like 7 years ago, I think my first one came out, however many years ago it was. And the first land I did at Magic Kingdom, people said to me, like, wait a minute, you're going to do 80 minutes on a land that has no attractions and like nothing else other than shops and restaurants on it? And I said, yeah, I'm going to have to cut it down to fit 80 minutes because I was still doing physical CDs and whatnot. When I've given like private tours of the parks, I sometimes, shocker, lose track of time and can spend 2 hours on Main Street USA talking about the history and the story and the psychology behind the technology and everything else that's in it. And one of my favorite parts, and I'm getting to where I'm going in terms of my favorite, I think that Main Street USA, IMHO, That means in my humble opinion. See, I'm trying to be relevant. Thank you.
I was wondered what
I
that
think Main Street USA is an attraction in and of itself. I think you can and should grab your popcorn, grab your mocha latte frappuccino, grab your chili dog, whatever it may be, and spend time wandering the streets, because there is so many layers in terms of depths of story. And when I said that 5 senses, 365 degrees, it is so well illustrated there. And I think a very important part of that are the characters of Main Street themselves. The people that live and work and play and sell you on the story of Main Street USA. My favorite, not that I'm playing favorites, but I'm playing favorites, Hildegard Olivia Harding, the woman that's trying to be out there, and she's a socialite and a suffragette, and she's president of the Social Society and the Women's Auxiliary and the Decorating Committee. She is such a wonderful character, right? And I think she, and whether it's Smokey Miller or Beatrice Starr or Inga DePoint or Mayor George Weaver, the characters themselves are an important element of the storytelling of Main Street USA. The people that are these characters, I think, have some of the most important yet wonderful cast member roles in all of Walt Disney World. Because they're important, because they are the first people that you encounter for the most part. The first characters you're going to encounter when you start your day. They make you believe, right, that you are in a small town at the turn of the century. You take out your iPhone. They're like, what is that little magical box in your hand? And their job is simple. Like in my eyes, their job is singular. Like all cast members, but primarily for them, their job is to make people happy. And they go so far out of the way to do it, whether it's Scoop Sanderson trading pins or, Francis Fernata, whoever it is, they will go out of their way to make people happy. And whether you're coming onto Main Street first thing in the morning, or you're leaving in the middle of the day, whatever it is, and they sing and they laugh and they tell jokes. I love these people on many, many levels. And maybe they are my favorite attraction characters in all of Walt Disney World.
Wow.
I just dropped the mic and walk off stage.
Speechless. Good night, folks. I'm not even going to do my last one now. Although, first of all, that was outstanding. What can I say? You snuck in food like 17 times.
I didn't mean to sneak in food. I was just sort of trying to.
Popcorn. What did you say? Chili dogs?
Popcorn,
what did you say?
Chili dogs. I think I mentioned the mocha latte
Stitch.
frappuccino.
You know you love Stitch. Just admit it.
You know what? Let me not.
It permeates your soul.
Do you prefer the smell of the chili dogs in Stitch, or now? If you remember going back to Alien Encounter, which was intentionally meant to be more scary.
Yeah,
it was very much a 4D experience, right? Much of that attraction took place in complete darkness, and at one point you didn't smell chili dogs. You felt sort of warm, like water or whatever, sort of breathing on the back of your neck and dripping on you, which was meant to be. Kids, close your ears. It was meant to be the blood of the poor guy that was up on the catwalk that was mutilated by the alien. Like, that was a really scary attraction.
Loved it. Couldn't get enough.
And yet you take the chicken exit on Jungle Cruise. I don't understand you, man.
I don't like the loop, the corkscrew thing that they put you through. Hey, you're the one that keeps going on and on about how in Mr. Toad's Wild Ride you go to... So,
I prefer HE double hockey sticks.
Hey, I'm sorry, kids. Sorry.
Wait, you went to... that says a lot about it.
What? No, what?
Never mind.
All right, I'm going to my last one. Man, see, this is what happens. I try and get my big ones up front because I know you're going to take them. So that kind of leaves me with, I don't want, not the bottom of the list, but this, in a perfect world, if we knew what we were doing, this would have been the first one I came out with.
Well, it's hard, right?
You weaved such a wonderful tale there. And I got to kind of.
You got to try and save the home. You got to have the walk-off home run at the end. You got to have
I want the lead-off bang. Just get the game over with, win it right away, demoralize my opponent, and make him weep. I
was going to make a Philadelphia Eagles joke here, but I won't because I love listeners from Philadelphia, and I went to school at Villanova. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, me being in Philly to all those listeners, I'm with you, guy. I don't know what's going on.
So come on.
Anyway,
so knock one out of the park that's better than the Main Street
This is great.
Citizens.
This is awesome. So I think by my count, my last two, counting this one, are non-human characters, to go back to one of your long list of rules and regulations that I didn't even follow. This one.
Come on.
We're still in the Magic Kingdom.
Oh,
what's that? What were you going to say?
I was hoping you were going to go like Hooter from Captain EO.
Hey, Hooter, we're almost there.
But you didn't go there.
Who? No. All right. So no, we're in. I'm clapping my hands like anyone can hear it. Going to Adventureland. I'm going another attraction filled with characters. Mm-hmm. Which one do I pick? Well, I'm in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And I'm going with the dog. The dog. You laugh. You scoff at me. Go with me here. No, listen to me. Come on. All right, so Pirates of the Caribbean, classic attraction, filled with all kinds of wonderful sight gags from beginning to end. Will you stop laughing and hear me out?
If this was the Zoolander walk-off challenge, you would be.
All right, hold on. I'm not a young man anymore. I can't do that anymore. No, really. I mean, you got sight gags from beginning to end. Well, at least when you get past the scary part with that skeleton guy on the boat that scares you half to death. I know, because you've said it before. But of all the sight gags that are in the attraction, I would venture to say probably the most well-known or one that comes to mind is the scene in the jail where the dog is holding the key and the pirate prisoners are trying to get him to just come over just a little bit more so we can get that key. And I think it's the next to last scene. I got my math right, and it's something that everybody knows. Everybody identifies with the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a joke. It doesn't need any explanation. Doesn't need any setup. It's right there. It's in front of you. It's funny the first time you see it, the 170th time you've seen it. And it's just such an iconic moment on an iconic attraction that it even came to light when they brought the attraction to the movies and the Pirates of the Caribbean films. Lots of references to the attraction, of course, but the one that I think gets the most, oh, look, it's the dog, is when you see the dog in the jail cell reenacting the scene right from the movie, or right from the attraction. And I think it's to the point where everybody who sees the film instantly knows what that is, and they know what the reference is, and they get it, and they know it's funny, and that it even got life. And when you first saw it, there was no backstory. It didn't need a backstory. I mean, it was there right in front of you. But as the Pirates franchise carried on and more movies got made, you did get a backstory. You found out Captain Teague, Jack Sparrow's father, was the original owner of the dog. You saw him finally come around and bring Captain Teague the keys for that big book thing, and with the explanation, sea turtles, mate. That's all it is. But it got a backstory, and it just. But the fact that it grew, and the fact that everyone knows what it is, and it's so big and so iconic to Disney that they even made up a backstory and incorporated it into their film. And I that's it. Bang. Walking off. Good night. That was good. Come on.
I know that's good. I mean,
That was
I
good.
think
I could have gone. There's so many characters in there.
I think
And I
we could-
wasn't going to go Jack Sparrow because he just kind of pops up here.
I think we could let the like I said, if this is the Zoolander walk off, and look, Magnum is nowhere near ready. I shouldn't even be talking about it. But if this is a walk off, is it the mainstream USA characters?
Steel right now.
I guess I'm known best for Blue Steel. Listen, there is more to life than being really, really ridiculously good looking. But okay, I'll give you.
Well, that was a good one. I know everybody loves it. As soon as I said the dog, everybody went, "Oh, the dog! Yes,
dog,
yes,
yeah."
the dog."
He was like 19th on my list.
Nailed that. Forget all that Main Street stuff. He nailed it with that. Maybe.
All right, so I'm gonna. How about a couple?
Hold on. I'm gonna sit back. Give me your 27 next.
No. I want you to.
And then you got one more to go, though.
No, listen, dude. I walked off the stage with the Main Street USA Citizens. I can't top that. I got nothing beyond that. A couple of no explanations needed. Honorable mentions, just for fun, right? Brer Rabbit.
Oh,
Brer Rabbit. He was very high on my list, and yet I couldn't come around to him because of some of the other ones. Warden
I
Wilson
was thinking of Splash Mountain and
so
grab anyone and
I thought about Brer Rabbit, but I couldn't wrap my head around him completely and make the argument I wanted to make. Warden Wilson Matua, Tommies. They're called Tommies.
What?
Miss Jobson, no one in Africa calls them Thompson's gazelles. They're Tommies. Tommies. Have you ever been on the safari?
Dinosaur?
Yeah. Here's one I almost sort of tried to make an argument for.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about characters in attractions.
Mm-hmm.
That guy.
I thought of that. Now I was going to do Buddy Boyle, and then I thought
I wasn't going to do. I was going to do.
No, but I know what you're thinking.
Right, that guy, because this is one of the attractions where the guests are made to be part of the show. Right, and when you walk out, and when you're that guy, not that I've never been.
Have you been that guy?
I've gone to Walt Disney World thousands of times, literally thousands of times in the past 40 some odd years. I could walk to the parks. I have never been
I know,
that guy.
From your house, you can hear the I
have never been the rebel spy. I'd never won anything in the year of a billion dreams. I've never been inside Cinderella Castle Suite, and I've never been family of the day. I've never been Grand Marshal in the parade. But it's fine. I'm happy. Just one of those would be nice. But I like the fact that when your dad or your brother or your son or you are that guy and you get your little sticker, and that's the thing that people are going to talk about from that trip. It's not going to be, oh yeah, It's a Small World was nice, and oh, do you remember the dog from Pirates? They're going to go, oh man, remember that trip a couple years ago when your dad was the one who was that guy in the Monsters Inc. show? That's the kind of thing that people are going to remember. That's the kind of thing that people are going to talk about. And that's why I like that guy.
I always go in, I sit in the beginning, don't make me that guy, don't make me that guy, don't make me that guy, because I would lose it. I think it's funny when that guy is totally oblivious to the fact
right.
that he's that guy through the whole show. And they still won't use my joke, and I'm still upset about that.
Do you text in jokes? Yep.
Yeah. So I've texted the same joke. I've texted the same joke all 117 times I've been
Tim,
there.
that's telling you something. It's telling you that your joke is awful.
Change it up. I'm gonna. This is what I'm gonna do. Next time I go in, I'm gonna text in, "How do you make a handkerchief dance?" Put a little boogie in it, because that's the joke they always use from everybody else. But I try and fool them. I try and make it from Timmy, little Timmy 6,
Little
so
Timmy.
they have sympathy on me and use my joke, but they don't. Yeah. It's a good joke, but I'm not gonna share it with all of you because. You don't
want to give away your best material, Tim, because the boogie and the hanky joke is clear.
Oh, so you're saying I didn't do that already? All right. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
I was actually surprised you didn't mention Waldo, the spirit of 3D.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Or Chris from Rock and Roller Coaster.
Chris, can you grab my black Les
Paul?
Look, Chris had one job. Go grab my black Les Paul.
I've never been on that ride.
Do you remember? Well, then you don't remember. At one point, Chris used to be a real person. in the pre-show when they say Chris,
I remember that.
There was one guy, and then it was a woman, right?
And then I blacked out.
And then you blacked out because you had a
Chris?
fear.
Because it could be a girl or a guy.
Right.
It didn't matter because it was a
exactly.
Exactly. You see, contrary to what you think, I've been to Walt Disney World before, so I know some of this stuff.
Next time you come
everyone
back,
thinks I get off the ride. I've been.
You know what? We're gonna do maybe we'll do a live show together or a video together, and we'll pick 5 attractions we're gonna go on together. I'll sit through Monsters Inc. and your jokes. I'm gonna only because I want to see you become that guy. I'm gonna do whatever I can. We're gonna go ride Rock and Roller Coaster. We're gonna ride Tower of Terror. We're gonna ride Haunted. We're gonna pick ones, and really, I want to capture the essence of what life is like being Timmy Foster.
Well, make sure you got battery juice for the trip to the emergency room and back when I black out. Because that's after Chris. I don't remember anything else after that.
And I have one final question and one final
Don't you
request.
have 37 more to do?
No, dude, that's it.
Really?
I left out Captain EO.
Okay. I'm trying to think who I consider.
I left out Crush from Finding Nemo the musical.
Dr. Isobar, whatever.
Cumulus Isobar. I actually had him. The guy emptying the tub on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad in the tiny town of Tumbleweed.
That's the one.
He should have listened. He should have listened when they warned him. So I have a question and a request, and neither are for you, Tim.
These aren't directed at me. They
are not directed towards you. They are directed towards you, the one I'm talking to you, the person that's listening. I want to know, who is your favorite attraction character in Walt Disney World? There's lots of ways you can let me know. You can come to WDWRadio.com, click on this week's podcast, go down, leave a comment there. You can tweet me at Lou Mangello, Facebook.com/WDWRadio. You can call the voicemail at 407-900-9391 and be like, "Cheese and crackers, man, how did you possibly forget so-and-so?" And yell at me and make your argument, whatever it may be. And then when you're done doing that, the request I have is for you to please go to celebrationspress.com and order every possible back issue and subscribe to get all the new awesome sauce that is Celebrations Magazine.
That's good advice.
There you go. Sage wisdom. Wisdom.
Go to Lou's voicemail and tell him to stop beating up poor Tim.
And
my mother's mad at you.
Listen, tell her to get in line. And the next one we're going to do is what? The one-liners?
With the appropriate voice inflections.
Okay. And I'm going to get you, Tim, for years, I've been trying to get you to do food-related top 10, and it's like pulling teeth.
I got cream spinach and funnel cake. That's all I got.
Maybe I'll have to recruit a listener to come in and help out with one of those.
Maybe. Well, maybe next when I go down there, we'll go on a food. A top 10. We'll walk around and do. I know you've done this before, but you and I will walk around and do a top 10 food thing.
I love it, dude. You had me at food.
I see. There
Awesome.
You go.
Well, my friend, thank you so much.
Save room for the emergency trip, right?
Is this always interesting?
Yeah. Magical. That's magical.
It's time for our Walt Disney World Trivia Question of the Week, where I invite you to test your knowledge of Walt Disney World history or see how well you pay attention to the details in what you see, or sometimes even in what you hear. If you think you have the answer, you can then enter for a chance to win a Disney prize package. Before we get to this week's question, let's go back, review last week's, and select our winner. So last week was all about planning for our cruise, or your first cruise maybe, on the Disney Wonder to Alaska. So I thought I would give you a question about the Disney Cruise Line itself, specifically about the godmothers, right? So when ships are christened and put out to sea for the first time, they are christened and given a sort of fairy godmother, and each of the ships has their own. Your question was, who's the godmother of the Disney Wonder? The Disney Magics is Patricia Disney. She is the former wife of Walt's nephew, Roy E. Disney. The Disney Dream has Jennifer Hudson. The Disney Fantasy is Mariah Carey. And for the first time anywhere and ever, an animated character was the godmother of the Disney Wonder, and she is, of course, Tinkerbell. I took all the correct entries, randomly selected one, and you were once again playing for all 6 of my virtual audio walking tours of the Magic Kingdom, as well as a copy of my 102 Ways to Save Money for and at Walt Disney World book, both of which you can find over at WDWRadio.com. And I'm also going to give you a mystery item from my personal collection. I'm in the process of purging a number of things up on eBay with auctions every week. I'm going to pull one of those items out, give it to last week's winner, who is Giovanni A. He didn't give me your last name, but Giovanni, congratulations. Please send me your address and your last name, and I will send you out your prize package. If you played last week and didn't win, that's okay, because here's your next chance to enter in this week's Walt Disney World Trivia Challenge. So this week, the Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival is going on. I just came back. Looks beautiful again this year. So I thought we would stay in Epcot, specifically in World Showcase. And your question this week is to tell me, in front of the Stave Church over in Norway is a statue of a Viking. Who is it? You have until Sunday, March 15th at 11:59 p.m. to email your answer to contest@wdwradio.com. Again, you're getting all the audio tours, a copy of the 102 Ways to Save Money book, and another mystery item from my personal collection. So good luck and have fun. That's going to do it for this week's show. Thanks again for taking the time to tune in this and every week. I also want to say a quick thanks to just some of the members of WDW Radio Nation, including Adam Mack, Alex Voorhees, Alexander Stein, Alyssa Provenzano, Angelo and Lori Oliveri, Angie Robinson, Armando Reynal, Bill, Brennan Party, Bryce, Kathy Mulhaney, Chad Angel, Chris Sizemore, and Curtis Callaward. Thanks to you and so many more who have supported the show through WDW Radio Nation. If you want to help and also receive exclusive rewards, including monthly scavenger hunts, access to our private Facebook group, custom Magic Band covers, WDW Radio Nation logo gear, including backpacks, t-shirts, care packages from Walt Disney World, exclusive live video group calls, and more. To find out more or to join, visit wdwradio.com/support. Again, it's completely optional, but a way for you to help show your support for WDW Radio. Also, don't forget that a portion of the proceeds of your contributions will go to the Dream Team Project to benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation of America. So thank you all again. Can't tell you how much I really appreciate this, the friendship and the support that you guys have extended to me. Also, don't forget that in addition to the podcast, which you can find over on iTunes, be sure and visit WDWRadio.com for multiple daily blog posts. I have a lot of great stuff going on, including Self-Shot Tuesdays. We've got our videos over at youtube.com/WDWRadio, a free email newsletter, free app for your mobile device, and lots more. Be sure and also tune in every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for WDWRadioLive.com, where I'll discuss this week's Walt Disney World news in the chat room with you. Or like last week, I might even be broadcasting live from the parks, and unlike a regular video broadcast, you don't have to just watch. You can log into the chat room and chat with me and the other people who are in the box as well. Again, that's every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, over at WDWRadio.com. I'd love to hear from you as well, so if you have a question you want answered on the air, email me, lou@WDWRadio.com, or call the voicemail. Be heard on the air at 407-900-9391. Please also connect with me over on social. I am at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest.com/Lou Mongello, and you can like the Facebook page at Facebook.com/WDWRadio. Of course, as you probably know, as much as I love connecting and engaging with you guys online, I think that nothing beats a handshake and a hug, and that's why I do monthly meetups in Walt Disney World. Thanks to everybody who came out to Yak and Yeti this past week. Had a great time. Weather was beautiful. Really enjoyed getting a chance to meet you and shake your hand and get or give a hug and hear your stories as well. Our next meet of the month, which is free and open to everybody, of course, is over at the Tangerine Cafe in the Morocco Pavilion at Epcot. That's going to be Saturday, April 25th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that's sort of our pre-Avengers Age of Ultron shawarma meet. You don't have to actually have shawarma, but it's a great place to meet up. And of course, you can enjoy the Flower and Garden Festival, which will be going on at that time. Visit the events page at WDWRadio.com to RSVP, as well as find out about other events, including our cruises and other meetups on the road. I'll be traveling to San Diego, Las Vegas, Fort Worth over the next few weeks. We'll definitely be doing some meetups as well. Also, head on over to LouMongello.com because I would love to try and help you not just build your brand and your business, but help you do what you love full-time. And whether it's working with you one-on-one or in group masterminds or even coming to speak to your conference, your business, or school, I want to see how I might be able to help you out. Again, visit LouMongello.com for more information. Big thanks, as always, to Mouse Fan Travel. They are my official and recommended travel provider because it's who I've used for 8+ years, whatever it's been. I love not just the fact that I know I'm going to get the best prices, but really that I'm going to get an incredible level of personal service, all at no additional cost to me. And if you go to celebrationspress.com, as you know, you can subscribe and order back issues to Celebrations Magazine. And as always, my friends, and you are my friends, you continue to demonstrate that to me week after week in so many ways, even just by giving me your time, which I know is your most valuable asset. All I ask is that if you like the show, please help spread the word. Let others know about it. Tweet out that you're listening, comment to me over on Twitter, share links and comment on Facebook, and please go to iTunes and rate and review the show there. We have more than 930 reviews. Would love to get to 1,000 5-star reviews. I want to thank recent reviewers, including Rangemeyer, Susie S25, Sean Kavanaugh, and Filma0796. If you visit wdwradio.com/iTunes, I'll give you a direct link and then show you how to rate and review if need be. And finally, and most importantly, I want to say my sincerest thanks once again to all of you for not just giving me your time, but letting me share my passion for Disney with you through the show and so many other ways. And whether it's a tweet or an email or a meet of the month or just the fact that you're listening to this, I appreciate it more than you know. And I hope and I want you to find that fire and that courage to start making changes in your life so that you can do what you love every day. And don't be afraid. I know it's scary, but you won't ever know until you try. And don't look back 20 years from now and wish that you would have done it. Take a chance, make a change, believe in yourself and have faith, and always keep moving forward. Thank you again so very much for taking the time to tune in and listen. I hope you have a ridiculously phenomenal week this week. So until next time, see ya.
Hi, Lou. I wanted to thank you for episode number 388, How to Plan and Prep for Disney Marathon Weekend. Figured it's better late than never. My wife and I are turning 40 this year. We just celebrated anniversary number 15, and we chose to celebrate at the Disney Marathon Weekend. I ran my first marathon. She ran our first 10K. We left our 4 kids at home, and we had an absolute blast. Your podcast prepared us for a new experience, and I'm hoping we can get back there soon. We loved the race, the expo. Sean Astin was awesome. The atmosphere was great. And I just wanted to thank you for getting us ready. Really enjoyed the whole experience, and your podcast was a great way to get us started. Have a great one, Lou.
Hello, Lou Mongello. It is Darlene Nagy from West Seneca, New York, and I want to say hello to all the WDW radio group, the WDW fan zone, and the WDW Disney Wonder Alaska radio group. We are going to have an amazing time. We are now under 85 days. Can you believe it? It's happening so fast. This is great. We just booked our port adventures, the excursions, and we decided on a couple different things. We're going to do a group thing, and then we decided to do a few other things. But we've got that all planned. We've got our reservation for Palo. Now I'm going to start on that packing list because Lou and Becky both said hats, scarf, and gloves, just so we're not cold when we're walking. I actually found a nice little quilted jacket for on the ship in case I'm a little chilly at night. I know in the daytime, 61 will be phenomenal, and my fleece will be great for that. So I know I'm going to need sunglasses for sure, probably, especially with the daylight is a long time at that time of year. So with saying that, I hope you all have a magical weekend. It's snowing here again in Buffalo. But what are you going to do? I'm hoping it's going to be spring very, very soon. Don't forget, if you didn't turn your clocks ahead, you need to, so you're on the cruise on enough time and you're not late for work tomorrow. Have a great day, and we will chat real soon.
You've got a friend.